Hi there, welcome to the replay of our after hours discussions with professional coaches. Your exclusive complimentary Sunday session for all of our community around the world, where coaching minds unite with our people to create real world results. I am Adrian Cahill, your host and founder of the Motivate community, and more recently, Monday Morning Motivation. As a global trainer in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, coaching, and hypnosis, this weekly gathering brings some of my colleagues from trainings, my fellow students and coaches all together in one place where we can discuss, share, help change the world by delivering free, quality information that's here to help you transform.
As you've heard before, I am Sophia. I usually introduce myself in that way since that's the name my mommy gave me. And so my name means a lot to my mom, if you know me. And so I'm Sophia. I am a school principal. And outside of my daily job of managing a foreign national school, my passion is really about career for young people. I spend a lot of time creating a lot of literature to support them because education has been such a powerful tool in my life. And I want to be able to give back to my community and share my community in that way. So this is us. Oftentimes you hear someone say, I'm a perfectionist. When they say this, they normally make this sentence with very broad chest, very confident, that, you know what, I'm a perfectionist. Anything I do, I want it to be perfect. Have you heard that sentence before or made that sentence before? Yes, I see a lot of nod heads. So being a perfectionist, it actually doesn't come from a bad place. Basically, it's usually our way of saying I do my best at anything that I'm doing. This is what persons intend when they say that. So it's not coming from a bad place. And I'm not saying that striving for perfection is a bad thing, because there are instances or cases or situations where perfection is actually attainable. For example, you can get a perfect score on an exam. If you take a test, the mark is out of 100, you can in fact earn a perfect score, or you can attain for a perfect GPA. So there are instances where gaining or achieving perfection is in fact possible. But let's look at the other side, or what striving for perfectionism actually does for some of us. Can you still see my screen?
We are seeing the first, yes, we are seeing that now. Traits of perfectionism.
So here are some of the traits of one of the negatives with perfectionism. When we talk about being perfect, we're sometimes saying that unless it's perfect, it's not good enough. And what that does, a lot of times, it prevents us from moving. We're not able to make progress. So let's look at this image that I selected. What tends to happen when in everything we do, all we think about is being perfect? It sometimes creates those mental health challenges. So, for example, we may sit in procrastination, just sitting and saying, you know what, because I can't get this perfect, I'm not going to get started. And I'll give an example of myself. Even today, I don't describe myself as an author. So I hope Jennifer is listening to this one since I'm on the virtual book tour. If I describe myself and I list traits about myself, I usually refrain from using the word author because I'm saying, okay, it's such a strong word. I've not transitioned to the space where I see myself like that. I know I'm good at a lot of things, but I still don't describe myself as an author. And that is one thing that I'm working on because I'm thinking if I'm putting together a book, I usually describe it as resources, okay? Because I feel like, okay, I'm an educator, I'm used to creating resources. And that comes from my own relationship with trying to be perfect in everything that I do. And so before I wrote my very first book, I started writing that book during COVID. And when I shared with a very good friend of mine, she's a publisher, and she had feedback. Naturally, she gave suggestions, how can I improve? And after that meeting with her, I actually put away the workbook and said, you know what, maybe I'm not ready to put this out to the public. So I'm just gonna keep this to myself and I'm gonna wait until it is just without flaw before I share. And I actually sat with that book for about 3 years before I worked up the courage again to try. And when I was finished with putting it together, I sent it to my girlfriend who was gonna be doing the publishing. And while she was publishing, I was busy fixing. I was fixing. So while she had the manuscript going through the publication process, I had printed out a copy and I was at my table just fixing and correcting and putting it so that it can be very, very perfect. And she said to me, Sophie, that is why they have first edition, second edition, and editions of book. You are holding on to what is it that you're supposed to be contributing to the world. So all of us are in some component of our life, because we're striving so hard for perfection, it is sometimes causing us to procrastinate. We criticize so much. We are the only ones seeing the flaw and the images in our heads, in our mind, and we will not put it to the world because we're saying, okay, they're gonna say it's not good, it's not ready. And so today, as we talk, I want us to think about our relationship, those traits of perfectionism. All of us have it if we're honest. It's somewhere in us and it manifests itself in some components of our lives. For me, usually it is in my career. So, what this workshop is not about, it's not about lowering your high standards, because I'm sure you've gotten into conversations with those who you may say to, it doesn't have to be perfect. And they probably are hearing that you are thinking or suggesting that they lower their standards, that they do not strive for excellence. That's not what we're saying. We're saying it's okay to have high standards, but do not allow your desire for perfectionism to prevent you from going down the path that you're supposed to. We're not saying you shouldn't strive for excellence. In anything that you do, we embrace excellence. We want you to be great at what you're doing, but we're saying do it. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Get started. Here, it's a safe place. So today, as we go through the workshop, we're not going to be blaming and pointing or shaming. And I'm saying we, but I know I'm talking to each of us individually, because the blaming and the shaming usually is a quiet thing. You do it usually by yourself when you're on your own, not necessarily in public. So if you have something that you're working on, maybe a promotion that you'd like to approach your boss about, maybe an idea that you want to share, what we're saying at the end of this workshop is to let's go ahead and try. Okay, we're not focusing on perfection. What are some of the goals today? I prepared 3 goals for us. We want to be able to identify and reflect. We are not able to address a concern whether in our personal lives or in our career or any component of our life if we are not ready to identify. We must first identify. I use this frame where we're going to name and label. So when I say identify where it is and reflect on how it manifests itself in our lives. And then instead of setting smart goals, right, we're going to be setting progress oriented goals. So we're not thinking of the destination. Instead, we're saying, okay, how am I making progress towards this goal? And we're giving ourselves permission to make this progress. And not only are we going to permit ourselves, we are going to commit to the progress. Okay? So we are going to commit to the fact that I'm going to get started. Life may interrupt me as I go, but I'm not going to stop. I'm still going to keep moving. So here is an activity. I want us to talk about 2 truths and a progress win. So I'm big on celebrating the small victories in our lives, the small wins, those progress focus. So share 2 truths about yourself. Something about yourself. It can be very simple, your career and that you're an author. I'm practicing to use that word a lot now, Jennifer. And then what I really want to hear about is a recent small win. Something that you've done. It's not a big thing, but it's taking you towards that big goal that you have in mind. So you can unmute your microphone and share, or you can text in the chat and share.
Two truths about myself. Okay, what's that? Sunny, go ahead.
Yeah, to share something. For me, small win. Yeah, for study swimming, I think for me it's also it's little thing, but for me I think it's big challenging because everyone study the swimming needed to find a professional coach, but me no. I just swim with my friend more than 10 times. Then I can swim by myself. Then so yeah. Every time I made some difficult thing, then I learn the swimming. Then wow, Sunny, you can do something you can't. You can save money. Yeah. And another thing is this year it's the first time I to be a host, English host for a professional conference. And it's maybe for other people it's a little thing, but for me, because I never to be an English host, so yeah, this thing and actually give me the confidence. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Lillian has her hand up.
Yes, thank you, Jenny.
Hello. This is Lilian speaking. Hi, the host, and I really like this topic. So that's why I'm here to listen to your presentation. And my truth and the progress wins is in 2025. I have got my 2025 English certificate excellence volunteer. So this is one of my progress. And then my another progress is in 2025 I trying to learn the instruments by myself with the electric piano for 3 months. And then that's my another progress range. So this is my story.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
I see.
thank you, Morten.
Okay, may I share some 2 truths about me? So as an engineer, I like to be perfect. So this leads me sometimes in overthinking and some procrastination before getting started. So this happens. So I overthink sometimes simple things. Yeah. So how can it be? What else to do? And sometimes this slows me down to get started. And just yesterday, I was looking in my email box and I found there's more than 5,000 emails in it. So I sit down and sorted it out, all 5,000. So I deleted some, unscribed to some email senders, and basically it took me a few hours to go through these emails. Yeah. It's a small win because now it's quite empty.
And nicely organized.
Yes, it's better organized. It's not perfect, but it's better organized.
That's good. All right, so as we share our progress wins, that's something that I want us to start focusing on. The small progress that we're making towards our big goal. Not just waiting for the final thing, but to enjoy the journey along the way. I'll pause here to share again a little bit about even my story. Last year, when I became a transition from a leadership position in my school to a school principal. And for us as educators, one of the things that is important is how we transition from being in the classroom to transitioning to administrators. And so most of us as educators, when we think of our principal, we're thinking, oh, that's so amazing. They get to come to work, they sit in their offices, and they can just be on their computers. So luckily for me, I had a lot of practice as an administrator at the middle management level. So I do understand the challenges of the school principal. But until you're sitting in the chair, do you really understand the challenges of the school principal? And so for me, when I came, I had a big vision for my school because I've always wanted to be a principal. As young as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a school principal. And although I'm a secondary school teacher, I always wanted to be principal of a primary school. So I was gifted nicely, my school is K through 12. So I have a primary school to manage, a middle school to manage, and a high school to manage, all of which are running different programs. And so I have all of that to manage. I spent the entire summer with my big vision. I'm coming in and I'm just going to fix things with my magic wand. I'm coming in and I'm fresh with lots of ideas, and I come in and I'm like, fix, fix. That's how I imagined it over the summer until I got to school and realized the intricacies of managing a school. And initially, I was so overwhelmed until I started celebrating our small victories. Something like having a smooth day from bell to bell, meaning that in the hallway, when the bell went, all my students were where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be. And what I started doing was celebrating myself and my team when we won small things. What that did for us, it built our confidence as a team. My teachers felt seen. They felt as though, yes, the small things, she's paying attention. And so we were getting ready to do those big things. So take a moment, pause, and celebrate the small wins as they come up. If it means that we're all on time together, then let us celebrate. Go ahead, Jennifer.
That is commendable, but I'm often, I'm wondering, how did you navigate the different cultural disparities and barriers present in the school environment with the teachers and all of that? How did you navigate that?
It was very challenging. It was one of my big challenges because I'll just pause to share a little bit about my school that makes it so interesting. My school has about 220 students. And of the 220 students, we have about 40 different passports registered in my school. So I'm saying that to show how diverse we are. In addition to that, what's also fascinating about my school is that none of my teachers are from the country that for the curriculum that we use, right? Including myself, because we're a Canadian school. And last year, in my first year, we actually didn't have any Canadian nationals on the team. So that's another interesting factor. And then none of my teachers are from a country where my students are from. So we're all so different. And then to make things more interesting, our campus is very big. Our campus has about 1,300 students. And so we are a small school in a bigger school, right? And so the cultural differences were a lot. A lot of things I didn't understand going in. And one of the things I learned to do quickly was to get rid of all the biases that I had in my mind. And the ones I couldn't get rid of, I was able to name and identify them, and I was on guard. So that way, when the biases come up in me, I'm able to pause and hold myself. But it's very challenging, and I learned very early in the first 90 days in my position how to listen. Another good thing about my system, why I enjoy working with the school I'm with, is we have amazing support. And there's a rule of thumb that we follow where we don't complain down, we complain up. So on the days when I'm having a very, very challenging day, there's always someone in the head office that I can call immediately. And I can vent because you need a venting space. I could vent, and after venting, we thought about, okay, how are we going to navigate the challenges? So I think one of the things that really helped me was good support. I always had a venting buddy. In the system, there are lots of principals, they pair us up. So you have your principal venting buddy who you can just share the challenges because they understand from your perspective as a school principal. And I think very important to me as an individual, I believe schools should support both teachers to do well and students to do well. And one practice that I have is that if I don't feed my teachers, they're going to eat my students. And so I do my best to feed them because I need them to have the energy to feed my kids. Yes, but it is challenging. That's another workshop to discuss the navigating such a diverse school.
Yes, thanks for sharing that. For me, my two truths was that when I started coaching, I thought that I wasn't capable of helping anyone. From where I was coming from, I always saw myself as an educator, just like you. And I had been teaching for over 20 years at that point. It took me a while, and I kept upskilling and training and getting stuff and more certifications to feel that I was ready and I would be perfect for the role of a coach. I had to come to the point where I accepted, I acknowledged where I was, and that I was making significant progress. And it didn't have to be perfect because it's a fallacy for me. Perfectionism is a fallacy. It's not attainable at where we are now. We don't live in utopia, so it's a fallacy. So
Yeah.
over the years, I've grown and I've improved, and now I tend to, as you say, celebrate small wins and accomplishments. And one of those, even now, is with the virtual book tour, where we took it from the first year was a little bit edgy. We had a little hiccup here and there, but we stood the ground, we continued. And today we are growing massively. We're almost at 40 authors this year from every continent. And so this is really celebrating progress, celebrating small accomplishments, valuing team members, valuing partnerships, creating strategic and intentional goals, and moving forward, not procrastinating, not making excuses, but owning where we are at and moving forward. So a small win for me today is just being able to launch the third chapter of our book tour after starting out a little rough, but here we are today. Yeah, doing it.
All right, let's continue making progress. So I wanted to talk about the beauty of progress. And I like using this example of a pea. And if you think about any time you need to replan, or you probably did this activity as a child where your teacher asked you to put like water, like the pea in a tissue with water, and then it will start springing. But if you think about the pea coat is perfect, right? It's nicely wrapped together in that little pod. And I don't have I don't think I have the correct vocabulary, but I want you to imagine the pea. For it to grow, it had to burst, and it had to disrupt its shelving so that it can burst out into that beautiful new plant. And that is what progress is about. Progress is about looking and saying, okay, I'm not going to be perfect, and I'm fine with that. It allows for learning and growth. If you think about something that you're great at, naturally, all of us, sometimes we have something that we're naturally good at. You just started doing it and you're perfect. Not a lot of learning happens on that journey. But think about something that you initially struggled with, but you did not give up. You continued to practice. What you found is that your learning becomes deeper. It becomes more personal. It enters you. It embodies who you are as you learn along the way. We emphasize the journey, not just the destination. So all the things that we're learning along the way. I think about myself as a school leader, and I remember when in my system, we have lots of support, and I will always share this about my school system. And in my first year as an educational coordinator, we always do evaluation. And if you know me, I'm a hard worker and I like to bring forth ideas, but I can be very reserved. So I like to plan things from behind. And I remembered the first year for the evaluation, as I went through the feedback, something caught my eyes. And one of the feedback said, I do not know what Sophia does at our school. Initially, I was very annoyed. I was very annoyed, and I started listing by myself all the different initiatives that I brought at our school. But then I started reflecting, because reflection is so important for us to grow. And I said to myself, it is not the teacher's responsibility to find out from me what I did. Actually, I am the school leader, and it's my job to communicate to my team member what is it that I am doing at our school. By taking that approach and thinking, the next year I was more ready. So I made progress in the first year. I didn't get caught up in being perfect. I took my feedback, and that's one thing that we sometimes, as we focus on being perfect, we're nervous about what persons are going to say. And I will give one tip. Don't ever consider feedback as negative or positive. Just call it what it is. It's feedback. What you do with the feedback determines if it is positive or negative. So just consider anything that anyone says about anything that you're doing as feedback. It is your responsibility now to determine, is this feedback positive or is this feedback negative? And that is in your circle of control. Just take the feedback. And if you want to be annoyed, because I was initially very annoyed by that negative feedback, but instead I said, okay, how is it that I'm going to be able to take this information, this feedback, and use it for myself and my growth. So as you're doing anything, because a lot of times when we focus on being perfect, one of the things that we are sometimes weary of is what people are going to say. And it's okay to feel that way. It's normal to wonder what people are going to say. That's normal. There's nothing wrong if you have that question in your mind. But when they comment and they give their feedback, do not categorize to say this one is positive and this one is negative. They're all just feedback. What you do with the feedback determines if it's positive or negative. How are we going to stay in progress? That is our goal in everything that we're doing. Which leads me to one buzzword that we use a lot in education, having a growth mindset. And having a growth mindset, it talks about having the belief that abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication and hard work. I attended a workshop a couple years ago, and they spoke about predictors of success. And they asked us as educators to rank. And I remember we had IQ. And while IQ was in the top 5, the number one predictor for success is actually hard working. And if you are an educator or even just looking around your community, sometimes you'll see someone who they're very talented, they're good at this, but they don't work at this task. They just do it well. If they need to do it, they can do it well, but they do not dedicate themselves to doing it well. What you'd find is that someone who really dedicates and put a lot of effort, they usually are making more progress than the person who does this task naturally well. So having a growth mindset just says, okay, any ability, any skill, anything can be developed through dedication and being hardworking. It encourages you to be resilient. That's a skill that we need as we're on this life's journey, and develop a love of learning, like learning how to do something. And remember, we always value effort over innate talent. If you're talented at something, that's amazing, but you also need to pair that with effort. Those two combinations are amazing. Talent alone, it will get you through the door, but it may not be able to get that promotion that you need or that you want or that you desire. You have to put the effort in, you have to learn and grow and be resilient. So just as I mentioned earlier with those feedback that we're going to get, we have to get feedback because we have to be in the world doing something and we're going to get feedback. Just take the feedback and say, how is it that I'm going to use this feedback to make progress? So let's talk about some real life examples. When I was making this, I said we all know those well-known figures who have shared their stories of failure and they continue to make progress over perfection. If you can't think of someone famous or well-known figure, just look in your own community. Think about your friends. Think about maybe even your parents, your siblings who have embraced progress over perfection. This is the person in your life that they're always moving towards this goal. And you're wondering, they're not tired. Aren't they frustrated from failure? But they're still getting up every day and on this path towards the goal. Think about that person in your life. Can you share with us stories about maybe someone that you know in your life that you know, okay, this person, I admire the way they're continuing to go after their goals. Unmute your microphone and share with me.
I can share one today from my mom. Constantly and always progressing forwards.
Dr. Sophia, there are notes in the chat. Can you see the chat from where you are?
Yes, I can. Yes,
Good.
I can see the chat. Let me see if I can get into it. It says, can you remove that page? Okay, let me see. Is it this? Is it better now?
No, I mean, I need to take a note with the encouraging resilience in that one.
Okay. Are you able to take notes now?
Yeah. And
Okay.
I need to take the notes.
Okay, I see you've shared Maya Angelou, the poet, Mary Decker, the long distance runner. So there are lots of those stories. Adrian shared about his mom being someone who was making progress over perfection. In my life, I like to share about my friend, Crystal. I've seen her really make progress. When we were young in our early 20s, she decided that she was gonna leave her 9 to 5 job to pursue a career as a publisher. And as a Jamaican, and in Jamaica, we're wondering what does she mean? What is she doing? Because we all have bills to pay, and who is writing a book? No one is writing this book that she promised that she's leaving her stable 9 to 5 job to go publish. And so, as her group of girlfriends, we were very concerned about making that decision. And what I've seen her do over the last 10 years is just remain progress mindset. She continued to work slowly, but she never gave up. And there were difficult days, challenging days, but she stood the course. She wasn't perfect. There were lots of feedback about who she was at the time. She had just transitioned from to having a faith-based business, and we're even giving her feedback to say that did make sense because it limits the people that you can publish these books that we don't foresee coming. But now you've even put yourself in a smaller group. But I've seen her over the last 10 years really making progress and putting those stones one by one, making mistakes along the way, being very imperfect, but still making progress. On difficult days, she would reach out to us, her friend circle, and we were there giving feedback and suggestions and encouragement for her to stay the course. So, in everything that we do, we want to be able to embrace progress. Progress just means that we're moving towards that goal. The perfect painting is of no value if it stays in your head. The perfect idea is of no value if it is just in your mind. So you want to be able to share that and be able to bring it to the world so that we can be able to enjoy what you have to share. So we're gonna take a moment now. We're gonna be reflecting and giving some feedback to ourselves. We're gonna be reflecting on an area in your life where you strive for perfection. For me, that's very easy, my career. And we want to write down one area where it has held you back. So there's something that you want to do. I probably don't know it, but you know it. Every day you probably would go to bed and you say, I want to do this. And you never move towards it. What is that area? If you are comfortable, we would love for you to share either in the chat or unmute your microphone and tell us an area where being focused on being perfect. And sometimes you don't use the word perfect. You will say, I want to know that when I do it well. Okay, so there are synonyms that we tend to use for perfect, but the meaning is all the same. This is the thing, or that you're not moving towards because you're thinking either you're not good enough, or the idea is not good enough, or what they are going to say is not going to be good. What is that area in your life? And unmute and share if you're comfortable, or text in the chat.
So, Sophia, can I go ahead and share?
Yes, please. Thank you.
This is Nadine. Thank you for your very clear presentation. Can follow everything. I would say for me, I've had this in my mind for some time of becoming a full-time author, but I'm always going back and forth thinking, if you make this step, will it work out? So I think that procrastination is probably what keeps me back of, you're thinking, don't want to take the step because you're thinking, what is on the other side?
Yes. Anyone else wants to share? So Nadine wants to transition into being a full-time author, but again, we are saying, okay, I'm not ready. I don't know what this full-time author is gonna look like, and I'm not ready to take that step to see it on my own. I see someone mention that moving out of middle school teaching into only high school or university level teaching, and I can really understand that one, because this is what you're comfortable with, especially as teachers. Whatever area that we work in, that is our domain. I always say, as educators, we are so passionate about what we do, and then we're saying, okay, can I make this change? Should I make this change? It's fine, I will just do another year. So I'm sure that's how it's going on. Go ahead and share. You can unmute and share. I think it's Lillian. Yes.
Hi, Sophia. And I wanted to share my story. And when I become into a volunteer, and when I first time to come into the stage and share my opinion, and was that I was really nervous, because so many kind of native speakers come into the meeting room and listening to my speech, and and sometimes I think my speech is not very well, but I trying to do my best. And after that, some kind of west from Australia, and and he and his name is Nathan, and he said to me, "You are already doing some kind of amazing job." And after that, I don't feel much nervous anymore on this time. And he also encouraged me to come into the stage and share my opinion. And after that, my audience trusted me the um interactive reflection. So that's made me really happy. And also I like to challenge with myself. So that's my story. Don't feel.
All right. Thanks so much for sharing. And I want to share a secret, that we're all nervous and we are all doing it, but we should do it even when we're afraid. And that's something that I always encourage my students to do. When it's time for them to do anything, they'll say to me, I can't do this. And I say, it's okay, you're afraid, yes? And they'll say, yes, I'm very, very afraid. And I say, we're going to do it even if we're afraid, because we must. And I think one of the things, anyone that you see making an amazing presentation and they're doing so well, and you're saying, oh, I wish I could do it like that. One of the secrets that you probably don't know is that they're doing it, but they're also afraid, but they're still waking up and showing up and making that progress. Now, what are some of the things that being or striving for perfectionism has cost us? It sometimes has negative impact on our mental health and even on our relationships. So it stifles our creativity and innovation. Can you imagine that? The world is waiting for you to share your creativity and your new ideas, and you are thinking that it needs to be perfect, and so I'm not going to share it with the world. Let's think about that and see how we are robbing ourselves, not just ourselves, but the world that is waiting for you to show up and to give us your contribution in your small circle. You don't necessarily need to be reaching across the globe. Just where you are is okay. Maybe you're thinking that, okay, I want to be able to give back to my community. I want to make a commitment to say, I don't know, maybe donate something. I want to go to my past school to motivate the students there. I'll use a lot of examples because I'm an educator, okay, so forgive me. But you want to do that, but you're thinking that, okay, who am I? And why would they want me to do this? But in fact, we are waiting for you. Your creativity, it's inside you. The innovations that you have in your mind, they're there. We're thinking about them, and we are not allowing us to be able to access you in the way that we need to, because you're still figuring out everything in your mind before making that first step to share it with us. And even in yourself, as you may be feeling overwhelmed, you are feeling nervous, you're not going to move, you're frozen. Because you're saying, okay, it's not good enough, it's not ready. Please don't look at this right now, it's not ready. And you're not allowing us to be able to enjoy and access what you have to share with the world. So let's share. And again, this is a safe space. All of us have an example of where perfectionism, it has slowed you down. And I'm using the word slow because I'm hoping that we were able to still move even while striving for perfection. And let's think about a cost that it's difficult for us to sometimes identify, which is an emotional cost. How has it cost us emotionally when we become fixated on perfection? Let us think about that. And that is a cost that sometimes we overlook. We can see the tangible cost, but the emotional cost, it's not so tangible, but it's an expensive one. It's an expensive check, an expensive debt that we have paid because we are just focused on being perfect. Anyone can think about that and is willing to share. And I can share while we are thinking, and if you want to text. For me, in the last 2 years, I've been a school principal, and trying to get my school to be perfect has cost me a lot. And what it does in handling any matter is that I will not sleep. So I will be up sometimes for the entire night. I will take a nap, maybe 2 hours. And then I will spend the remainder of the time. I had these large post-it notes, and I would stay up all night and make notes of the things that I need to work on or I need to fix. And that was I would say in the first 90 days when I took office. And I would not sleep. And although I was up all night, I wasn't tired. At least I didn't know at the time that I was tired. I wasn't tired. So I would get to work and I wear sneakers to work. So I'd be just running, running for the entire day. And that for me has been a great cost because after some time, naturally you're burnt out. And if you're an educator, you know that it doesn't require we educators we stay burnt out. And imagine adding that pressure. And please know this pressure, I wasn't being pressured by anyone. I created this pressure for myself. I just prepared this problem nicely for Sophia. And I came in and decided by myself with no additional pressure to say, okay, Sophia, it's not like I had a conversation with my superintendent and he gave me 10 things to do. That did not happen. I prepared these 10 things to do all by my lonesome. It's not that I had a parent complaint to inspire these 10 things or my teachers were struggling to inspire these 10 things. As a matter of fact, my teachers were giving me positive feedback to say, okay, I'm liking this that you're doing. My parents were giving me positive feedback, but I had prepared this problem all by my lonesome for myself. And I was on this path by myself, obsessing over being perfect. If there was a feedback that came in, I decided that this feedback would definitely be because I'm doing something wrong and now I need to fix it. And that I did all by my lonesome. Yes, I did that by myself. So anyone wants to share?
You know, I have that tendency to fix it, to try to fix everything. And at some point I realized I couldn't fix everything and I couldn't fix anyone. All I had to control was my own self, my own responses, my own world. And I too experienced burnout after a while. And I had to take a step back and look really at what I valued, going back to my core
Yeah.
values, and allowing myself, giving myself permission to rest, to relax,
Yeah.
to turn my phone off, and to just go to sleep or to take a day. It took a while for me to give myself permission to do that because I have a very structured life. But now I'm moving into that area where I can just say, I give myself permission to rest and it's gonna be fine. I don't have to fix
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's important. And I went to a workshop and I'll remember one thing that was shared. And they said one of the things as school leaders that we need to remember is to know when your 80% is good enough. And once your 80% is good enough, then that's it for today. Tomorrow is a new day. And I think that really that conversation really helped me. And as we're sharing about perfectionism and progress, later in the challenge, when I issue the challenge for us, I'll talk about how important it is to have that community to support you because we can do life alone. That's okay. But you don't have to. So you can choose to surround yourself with the support that you need. And I think that's a great way of navigating the world. So, one of the things that I will challenge us to do is to shift our focus. So, we're shifting to progress. celebrating those small wins, as I mentioned before, incremental improvement. So it doesn't need to be improved overnight. Instead, step by step, we can get to the target. Set realistic goals and prioritize growth. Not necessarily completion, but growing. Knowing that you have made one step towards where you're going. So we want to prioritize that. That should be our focus. Not so much in saying that, okay, it must go this way. I do not know if you've read this book, Who Moved My Cheese? And I tend to read that book every time I need to do something important. And there's a part in the book where it says that sometimes as you move closer to the goal, your perception shifts. So sometimes from a distance, the problem looks so huge, and you're thinking that I must go this way. But there's actually a turn off. If you get closer to the target, there's an alternative route. And so that book really resonates with me. Me and my team, we always read it over the summer just to remember that we need to keep moving. And it has really worked wonders for us. We read it, and every time I read that book, I get a different piece of cheese. I think it's just interesting. I've read it so many times, and every time I'm saying, okay, this is a new cheese. I never thought about it in this way. And it has truly helped in terms of my progress along the way. So I grabbed this clip, and we want to talk about the big questions. This is what kind of helps us to fixate on perfection. The question is, what are we afraid of? And then the second one is that big question, and I want us to ask inside. Are we okay with doing nothing, saying nothing, and be nothing? Let's listen to this clip. I hope you can hear. So tell me if you can hear. Can hear?
No, we aren't. We aren't
No,
hearing
no,
anything.
can't hear.
Were we able to hear that clip?
No, we couldn't hear it.
Okay, I will share the link in the chat, but
Yes.
basically, we're simply saying that some big ideas that I got. This is a small part of a longer presentation. And the big ideas and the reason I took this portion is that it asks the big questions. What are you afraid of? Because one of the reasons sometimes when we are focused on being perfect, it's not that it's a symptom. The underlying thing is that we're afraid of something. Usually, this sometimes can be failure. We don't want to fail. And that's why we are afraid to move. We're thinking that if I don't do anything, then there is no room for me to fail. So that's the first part of it. And the second part is we may be afraid of what they will say. They are going to say something. So that's the first thing that we need to acknowledge, that people will always have something to say. And it doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't mean that they're jealous. It doesn't mean that they hate you. It actually doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that they have an opinion. And it is okay for them to have this opinion. But if we do absolutely nothing, this is the big question that you have to ask yourself. Are you okay with doing nothing? Because if you do nothing, they can't say anything, right? If I don't publish a book, there is no one to criticize that my book was not good, because my book is not there. It's just in my head, and in my head it can stay there perfect. No one can access it, no one can say anything about it. But are you okay with doing nothing, saying nothing, and being nothing? Most of us, we don't choose to live like that, because sometimes I will be maybe having conversations and I'm getting ideas, and I'm hearing some persons are ready to share ideas immediately. And then there's someone who is choosing not to say anything, but their body language is communicating to me that they disagree with what is being said. They will hold themselves so tightly, but there is gonna come a trigger where maybe someone give a suggestion and they're saying this is not going to work, and you will find that they say something, because most of us, we don't choose to live our lives that way. There is a component in your life that you are going to say something and you're going to do something. And the big idea here is that whatever that something is, it does not need to be perfect. You just need to say it. If there is feedback, you collect the feedback and then you make progress towards going there. Another big message here is that no one can do what you're doing, because no one else is you. So if you've started a business, there are going to be other people who are in the same sector as you. Yeah, for us ladies who we like to shop, and when we go to shop, there are 1,000 black dresses for you to choose from 1,000 different designers. Just because someone made a dress one day didn't stop all the others from making a dress. So if you want to start a business or you want to do something and it was done before, no one can do it the way you are doing it. And even myself, I was saying to my friend the other day that it's so interesting that before I started really providing career and college counseling for teens, I never noticed that other people were doing it. And now it seems every time I go on my social media or my LinkedIn, or I'm checking something, I'm thinking of making a new book. You see, I'm writing a new book. I'm seeing something similar. And I'm saying to myself, where were these all along? But guess what? No one can do what I'm doing because they're not me. And it doesn't mean that I'm doing it better or they're doing it better. It just means that we're different. And that's okay. When persons go to purchase a lip gloss or shoe or pants, they come, there's 1,000 for them to choose from. Some people are going to choose your product, some people are not going to choose your product, and that is okay. When I published my first book, I went on Amazon every day to check on the sales, and there are no sales. And I'm saying, okay, because I wrote the book, I didn't make any plans about selling this book, right? I didn't think along that way. And so what I did, because I quietly sat and said, okay, how am I gonna move this book from Amazon to the people who needed it? And I took my time. I reached out to schools, I'm sending emails, I'm making phone calls. And then after 1 year of doing this work, I went onto Amazon and I noticed that in one day I sold 40 copies. And I said, this must be a mistake. So I closed all my browsers and I restarted my computer and I went to check again. and I noticed it says 40 copies sold. I said, okay. The next day I went and I saw 10, then 15. And this is after a year of just doing it small by small by small. And no one else can do what you're doing. So whatever is it that you want to do, just go ahead and make progress. Take the first step. It could be, it doesn't matter. Anything at all, any component of your life that you're wanting to see change, start making progress. So now we're not just going to talk about it, we're going to be about it, right? I'm copying my teenage students' lingo. So we're not going to talk about it, we're going to be about it. And what we're going to be doing for this part is setting goals for progress. So we are not just setting those big goals, but we're saying, okay, how can I make progress towards this goal? So here's an example. Sometimes we'll say, okay, I want to read 5 books for this month, knowing well that your schedule does not permit the reading of these 5 books. So instead of making that big chunk of goal, what we're wanting to do is to celebrate movement. So we will read 1 book this month instead of aiming for 5. And the reason I phrase the goal in this way is because we want it to be focused on progress, making movement, not just about reading the book or how many books, but how is it that we're going to make small incremental growth. And that's what we're wanting to do, to develop the habit of reading or whatever habit that you're wanting to develop. But it's going to be incremental, not a big chunk. So you're going to start small and you're going to make progress rather than focusing on it being perfect. So if you would like, start thinking about your progress oriented goal and go ahead and share it with us, because as a community, we're going to hold each other accountable. Anyone wants to share their goal in the chat? A progress-oriented goal, something that we can focus on this month.
Apologies, Sophia. I can't find my chat at the window. A bit of tech challenges, but I'll get there.
That's okay. I found mine.
I want to share something.
Yes.
I will keep practice my listening, English listening, for half hour one day, instead of to remember new vocabulary.
Okay. That's a good one. So we're just making progress. We're going to listen and we're not aiming to remember all the new vocabulary. All right, in the interest of time, I know we're thinking about our goals, but I want to get to this fun thing that will keep us working and working together over the next 21 days. You know, they always say that it takes about 21 days for you to develop a new habit. So this is how I came up with 21 days as our check-in and partner challenge. So we are going to think about just one specific goal that we want, progress-oriented goal that we want to work on over these 21 days. And I want us, those of us who are on the chat, to pair up with an accountability partner. I do not know if the platform will allow us to make groups, but maybe we can just talk in the group. Try to pair up with someone that you probably don't know. So like I know Jennifer, I talk to her often enough, so I would love for someone else to be my partner if that is possible, so that we can share our progress goals with each other. Then I want us to check in weekly, because a lot of times when we come together on these platforms, then we just move on with our lives. I go back to working on my habit of not trying to make my school perfect, but we all go back to our little corners. So for me, I want us to come together. And this challenge will help to keep us together, where we can check in weekly, discuss our progress and our challenges. I believe that success requires a community. And sometimes you're in a space where your goal, when you say it out loud, the community that you're in, your goal does not resonate with them. And it could be that you're in the wrong community. We need to find a new community. For me, that happened when I joined the virtual book tour. So when I joined, I was a little author in my office, in my apartment, just doing my thing by myself. And so I'm thinking all these challenges, they must be a Sophia problem. I am the problem because I'm just not doing it properly. When I joined the virtual book tour, I learned that I'm not alone. Not only did I learn that, I also got support. So on this chat now, even Nadine, I don't know if she remembers that early in my journey before I published, she actually spoke to me for about an hour and shared a lot of information with me. My second book, I was reminding Jennifer that she actually suggested it to me and went about her business. But instead of, I didn't go about my business, I had the idea in my mind. But when Jennifer said it to me, I said, okay, I'm not crazy. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and try. So sometimes you're not in the right community, and that is also hindering your progress. So what you need to do is find your people. Find your people, they're out
And your
there.
tribe, yeah.
Find your tribe, yes. And they will be the support you need. But when you say, okay, I can't do this, they say, no, but I know this person has done that. Let me connect you to that person. And that's what I want to create with our accountability partner challenge. So we can, I don't know, Jennifer, if you can help me to kind of pair us up so that we can be together on this challenge. Or Adrian
Adrian,
can help
yeah.
me. Yes, to pair us up on the challenge.
Is it just, I think it's just for the
Okay.
Motivate community, right? Adrian, go ahead.
Yeah, just not sure how we'll go for time. We can try it, but I wouldn't want to break into pair groups now.
Yeah.
The time is limited, yes.
Yeah.
But maybe in the larger community, I've shared a slide so we can commit to that. Persons can, afterwards, Dr. Sophia can ask in the group, and then we can progress from there.
Yes, that's a good idea. Thank you, Jennifer. And I prepared a tracker for us so that we can grow together in being on this journey of progress rather than perfection. So I do want to pause now because I think we have about 7 minutes or so where we can just talk together and share just where you are. Again, progress is a journey, not a destination. We're not going to be obsessed with being perfect. We are going to celebrate those progress and we're going to embrace imperfections. My good friend Charisse, she's the one who uses the word flawsome. She uses it a lot. And she says she's just gonna wake up and have a flawsome day. And so I love that about her, that she's okay with being imperfect and showing up as her best imperfect self. And that's what I want to challenge all of us to do. Whatever it is that you would like to do, stop thinking about it being perfect or whatever synonym you are using. what I want you to do is to start and find your tribe, and they will help push you to the finish line. Let's unmute our microphones and share as we have a few more days to go, few more minutes to go. Sorry.
You might have to make a tribe if you can't find one.
Yes, probably yes. Yes, once you find your people will help you. For me, my people have been those who have supported me on my author journey here. And then, of course, as a school leader, which is my profession, and my authoring is my passion. I think I'm gonna start my life in that way.
Your ikigai. You'll find it.
Yes.
Yes, the ikigai. That's it.
Yes.